All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream here. Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. How's it going, everybody? Sorry I am a little late tonight. I just was napping, to be honest. I catch up on my sleep on the weekends, and so I was just taking a nap. We did a LeetCode yesterday, Mahan. We did it yesterday. We should be all good to go. All right. Let's see here. We're on Fluent Python today. All right. Bring this over. Let's go to YouTube here. All right. A little bit warmer in here. Open that up. Okay. Let's get this going. Come on. Where's my pop-up? Uh-oh. Um... I can't get into the settings here. Come on. Tools. Come on. Shoot. Properties. Where? Not get any pop-ups. Oh, there we go. Finally. Okay, there you go. All right. Still waking up here. Yeah, my Saturday naps like hit me hard. It takes me a second to wake up. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the stream today. Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Let me go ahead and fix my hat real quick here. It's a little bit too tight. All right, here we go. Cool. Yeah, I'm a man of habit, Tim. I wear that my Alaskan Brewing one like every single day, but occasionally I have a collection of vintage hats that my girlfriend finds me because it's part of her vintage clothing business, and so I will rotate the hat every once in a while out of my go-to, but I usually wear that green one all the time. I'm a creature of habit. What can I say? I like doing the same thing. All reliable, right? But yeah, this one is a 125th anniversary Kentucky Derby. Flat bill cap here. I think it's more like a panel style cap, but it might have been actually like a trucker style cap at first, but kind of warped over the years due to its age. But yeah, it's a pretty cool hat. Does your GF have any vintage sporting merch I'm ready to buy? Um, she mainly focuses on like more feminine style clothing and some unisex stuff. We are trying to branch into getting into more like male items as well, but she mainly specializes in just that female kind of more feminine style. But we are expanding out hopefully soon. We got some goals in place for the next month or so to try to get the business expanded and moving, and we're gonna see what we can do here. But how much for the cap? That's funny. It probably wouldn't be like too much. We always like to keep prices pretty low on our items, like around like the teens or the low 20s on things. The whole purpose of it is to be sustainable and rehome, good clothing to people. Okay, here we are. Okay, let's get moving here. Standard API of mapping types. So we're still in we're in chapter 3 here, and we're on this subheading standard API of mapping types. This is Fluent Python chapter 3. All right, the collections.abc module provides the mapping and mutable mapping ABCs, describing the interfaces um, of dict and similar types. The main value of ABCs is documenting and formalizing the standard interfaces for mappings and serving as criteria for instance tests in code that needs to support mappings in a broad sense. Where we have mydict is instance of an abc.mapping, true. Instance mydip.abc mutable mapping, true. So a blank dictionary is true for both of these instances. So they must inherit from one another. Using is instance with an ABC is often better than checking whether a function argument is of the correct dict type, because then alternative mapping types can be used. We'll discuss this in detail in chapter 13. Figure 3.1. Simplified UML class diagram for the mutable mapping and its superclasses from collections.abc. Inheritance arrows point from subclasses to superclasses. Names in italic are abstract classes and abstract methods. Okay, so these are the inheritance. Okay. To implement a custom mapping, it's easier to extend collections.userDict or to wrap a dict by composition instead of subclassing these ABCs. The collections.userDict class and all concrete mapping classes in the standard library encapsulate the basic dict in their implementation, which in turn is built on a hash table. Therefore, they all share the limitation that keys must be hashable. The values need not be hashable, only the keys. If you need a refresher, the next section explains. Okay. What is hashable? Here's part of the definition of hashable adapted from the Python glossary. An object is hashable, right? An object is hashable if it has a hash code which never changes during its lifetime. If object hashable. If it has a hash code which never changes during its lifetime and can be compared to other objects. Oh, bruh, that's bad. Pause. Can we compare to other objects? Numeric types and flat immutable types, str and bytes, are all hashable. Container types are hashable if they are immutable, and all contained objects are also hashable. A frozen set is always hashable because every element it contains must be hashable. By definition, a tuple is hashable only if its items are hashable. See tuples TT and TL and TF. where TT is a list of elements where you have a tuple inside of a tuple. Hash TT gives you this number here. Whereas TL on this gives you hash TL. You can't because this is not hashable. But you can hash a frozen set of 30 and 40. The hash code of an object may be different depending on the version of Python, the machine architecture, and because of assault added to the hash computation for security reasons. The hash code of a correctly implemented object is guaranteed to be a constant only within one Python process. User-defined types are hashable by default because their hash code is their ID, and the EQ method inherited from the object class simply compares the object IDs. If an object implements a custom dunder EQ or equivalency method that takes into account its internal state, it will be hashable only if it has the hash method always returns the same code. In practice, this requires that the EQ and hash only take into account instance attributes that never change during the life of the object. Now let's review the API for the most commonly used mapping types in Python: dict, default dict, and order dict. Once hashable. Overview of common mapping methods. The basic API for mapping is quite rich. Table 3-1 shows the methods implemented by dict and two popular variations, default dict and order dict, both defined in the collections module. So they all have a clear, they all have a contains, and a copy. The default dict supports dunder copy, default factory. They all delete, they all thrown keys, they all do these. Missing is only found in the default dict. And then move to end is only found in order dict. A default factory is not a method but a callable attribute set by the end user when a default dict is instantiated. Order dict.pop item last equals false removes the first item inserted first in, first out. The last keyword argument is not supported in a dict and default dict as recently. The way d.update m handles its first argument m is a prime example of duck typing. Its first, okay, let's do duck typing. It first checks whether m has a keys method, and if it does, assumes it has a mapping. Otherwise, update falls back to iterating over m, assuming its items are key value pairs. The constructor for most Python mappings uses the logic of update internally, which means that it can be initialized from other mappings or from any iterable object producing key value pairs. A subtle mapping method is set default. It avoids redundant key lookups when we need to update the value of an item in place. The next section shows how to use it. It's really starting to, oh, come on. My bad. Didn't mean to bump that. Gotta reset this thing. There we go. This is all still chapter 3. All right, let's move on. I'm done reading for today. Kind of over it. All right. headphones at. Get some tunes going here. Kind of a slower stream today. Sorry, you guys. It's just a slower, kind of more sleepy Saturday. Just waking up over here from my Saturday nap, catching up on my sleep schedule. Yesterday we were out really late at that concert, so I slept in pretty late today too. And no spotlight. Spotify. Wingong, how's it going, my friend? Welcome back, dude. All right. All right, we got the elevated music going. All right, let's get going here. All right, we're on 112 path sum here. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really sure how to do this one, so we might have to prompt the Mr. AI to help us get through this one to solve this problem here. But we're gonna be doing 112 on LeetCode today, and then we'll get into the project. Okay, so this one says, given the root of a binary tree in an integer, target sum, return true if the tree has a root leaf path such that adding up all the values along the path equals target sum. A leaf is a node with no children. Given the root of a binary tree and an integer called target sum, return true if the tree has a root to leaf path Okay, so it has to be to leaf. So you can't subsequently be like, you can't bow out early if you hit it. You have to go to a leaf. Okay. So what do we need to know? If we land on a node, right, so we have 4 cases. Okay, right, so we're given a root value. If a node, if the node is none, right? If the node equals to none, we want to return back 0, right? We just want to output true. Okay. So we return 0. If a node has one child, what are we going to call? If a node with one child, right? Just similar to yesterday's problem, a node with one child. God. Oh my God. Saturdays. So node equals to none, we want to return 0, meaning that we're going back to the leaf. No, so hold on. Okay, so if we are traveling from the root position downward, if you are on a leaf, Not right now, no. Oh my gosh. I'm just struggling. My brain is tired, really tired. Okay, so in the case where we have a null node, do we want to go down to a null node? Right, we're going to return 0. In the case with a node with no children, right, so this is a leaf. We want to return node dot val, right? So can we use a set basically? So if we have a node with one child, right? On a node with one child, what do we want to return? We want to call, we're not adding to the value. We just want to call node.next. And then on the here, on a node with two children, we want to call node.next times 2. Right. So then if we travel down 5, we'll call it on this guy and on this guy. Basically add into right. So we could take the 5, take the root value, add in all these two values, add those two values to the set, add in the 11 onto that, add in the 13 and the 4 onto an 8, add two distinct values into the set. Okay, so let's think here. Okay, so has path sum. So there's a helper function. Takes in a node. Okay, we're gonna say if node is none, return 0. If node dot so if the node dot left and node dot right, if you have both of them, right, we want to call helper okay, now so we'll call left is equal to helper on node.left, right is equal to helper on node.right, and then say if node if left and right. So this returns 0 if it's none in our base case. So 0 would be here. Right? So if we have if node is none, return 0. Meaning we have found, we've gone past, now we return 0 back to this. This 0 gets returned here, plus node.value equals this. We'll go here, go scene equals to a set, or no, we'll say right. So node.val on the right. If you have a left and a right. So hold on, let me go back to my previous question. As I said. Okay, so I called it on the next values. So I call it on the next values rather, right? So I'll move to the left and to the right. Right, this could be none. Right, so if left and right, then we're gonna call return, we're gonna say return node.value plus left. I don't want to. Hey Edwards, how's it going? We're talking about food. So helper left, right. If left and right, we're gonna return the value of node plus. So we'll take this value plus so in the case where So if I take a difference, let's go to the almighty here. Let's get some guidance here on walking through this. So let's say I am working on path sum LeetCode number 112. I am trying to implement using recursion right now and am a little stuck. Let's walk through this together, gauging my understanding and using it to go deeper. Pause. Don't show me code. Here is my current attempt. Okay. Perfect. I like your approach and you're tending to understand deeply before getting into the code. Let's start by checking a few things together. Your goal. Do you understand what it means for the path to add up to the sum target in this problem? What exactly qualifies for a valid path in this context? Can it stop anywhere? Must it go a certain distance? Hey, Moet, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you coming in, dude. Thanks for stopping. 5 big booms. Do you understand what it means? Your goal. Do you understand what it means for a path to add up to a target sum in this problem? What exactly qualifies as a valid path in this context? So you can only terminate a path once a leaf is reached. In this problem, the path has to start at the root and go all the way down to the leaf, so let's build on that. Your current function. You're using a helper function that returns something I see. You're adding up values and returning that sum. If your helper function is returning a number like the sum of the path, how would you check whether if any of those paths actually equals the target sum? Would you accumulate sums as you go down or after you hit the leaf? That's what I am trying to figure out here. I am currently summing as I go back up to the root on the recursive recall. Nice. That tells me you're thinking in terms of post-order traversal, left-right process. This can definitely work, but there's a key thing to pause on. If you're summing on the way back up, you're waiting to process the values until after visiting children. At this point, do you know the full path has been taken and that more children are coming? What defines the end of the path? At what point do you know the full path has been taken and that no more children are coming? What defines that you're at the end of a path? Once you've thought about that, consider if you only check the sum at the leaf, would it make more sense to carrying a running total down as the tree part of your recursion? Let's dig into that. What do you think about carrying the remaining target sum downwards and checking the leaf if the value matches up with what's left? Okay. So we'll say our base case then will be if node is none, so if node dot next left and is none, and node.write is none, then check if running total for that path is equal to the target sum. Once you're at a node that has no left and no right, it's a leaf. You know the full path has been taken. So at that point, you can finally ask, did the sum along this path add up to the target? Or better yet, if you're subtracting the node's value as you go, you could ask, is the remaining target sum equal to this node's value? So quick checkpoints. Leaf equals to node.left is none and node.right is none. At that point, check. Want to talk through how you'd update the recursive call to carry that running total, or want to try to rewrite your helper to show you your next attempt? Okay, so if if not node.left and not node.right, then check if return true if so we'll say so we need to keep track of how many paths there are though, right? Because we have to know which path we're on. Got some Twitch chats in here. Hey dude. Hey boss, how's it going? Hey Garbai, I appreciate you coming in. And Carlito, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for chatting with me. So, right, simple return the if sum equal node left, node right. So, if not left and not right, we want to check here. Right, if okay. Target sum is equal to node.val. Return true, if else return false. So then we're going to say, right, we need to, so that's our base case. Okay, so let's say this. Okay, so this is my base case so far. So the base case, which is leave, which I even want a final check. Let's refine. What do you want the helper function to take as input besides the current node? So we also will need to take in a tracking value. So new target. Return true. Sorry. If target sum equals to node val else false, so we'll have to do okay, so we need to pass in target sum into this one. What should the helper return if the current node is none, like an empty tree or dead end? Okay, so if not left and not right, then we return true if the target sum is equal to no.value, else false in our base case. Okay, so then we need to update target sum at this current check. So we say left is equal to so if not left and not right, meaning that it's a leaf, you return true. If it's none, if the node is none, okay, let's take this so far. Okay. Here is what I have so far. Perfect, you're building this step by step. You're now passing the target sum down the tree, which is key. You're checking at a leaf node whether the remaining target sum equals the node's value. Now think about the recursive step. What should happen before reaching a leaf? You still need to continue traversing down left and right, and then passing so once we move past right. Hey Tushar, welcome in. For those that are on Twitch, I also am streaming onto YouTube as well. I appreciate you guys for being here. Hey, Muster and Wish 97, thanks for coming in. We got 3 people chatting it up in Twitch right now. Thanks so much for coming in and following, you guys. For those that are new here, my name is Michael. I'm 26 years old. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company since I graduated back in 2021. And I have been doing that for a little over 3 years now. I'm a scientist too. Mid-level is my current title, I guess. I make biological controls for patient diagnostics, and I as a chemist, that's what I do, and I've been teaching myself how to code for about 8-9 months now. I appreciate you guys so much for being here and joining me. Been documenting my entire progress here live on YouTube and Twitch every single day as I study and work through various problems and books. As you guys can see, we read books, do problems, and build projects on the channel. Thanks for coming in, you guys. Okay, so so we need to left is equal to helper on node.left, and we pass in target sum at this point in time. Right is equal to helper node dot right, we pass in target sum at this stage. So, but our target sum has to update for this current value. So we'll say node dot value subtract target sum, right? Continue traversing down left and right. Pass a reduced target sum. Combine the recursive results. So then we say if, or do we return left and right here? what would you return after the base case when the node is not at leaf? And what should you do if the node is none at any point? So this is my current attempt here. Here is my latest ever. Nice progress. You're really close. I can see that you're thinking of evolving clearly. Let's walk through and fine tune a few things. You currently have left is equal to helper node.left node value minus target sum. But ask yourself, at this point, what is target sum supposed to represent? You are trying to reduce target sum by the current node's, oh shoot. So target sum less node.value. Right? Not subtract the target sum from it, okay? Perfect. So we can, okay. Do you think, think about your goal of the problem. Do you return left or right? Missing a base case for a node is none. If a recursive call hits none, what should happen? So if node is none, if not node, return false. Dang it. No, don't show me code or give anything away. Let me solve it with your hints. Here is my current. Oh, really? Oh, really? That is the correct, that looks solid? Oh, really? That looks solid? Oh, I'm not calling the node, it's the thing. That's why. So let's call helper on the root. And let's return that. I think that's the answer. No! Oh, target sum. Boom. Woohoo! Got it, boys. Nice. That was a lot better than I thought. We really breaking that down and talking through the Jippity here really helped. So what we did is, as you guys can see, this is how I solved. I was just talk through like I was talking with the duck. I didn't have it show me any code. Just talk through my logic and really tried to understand what it was asking me here. Just getting practice for thinking like a programmer, and you know the almighty orb here is a good training tool to help me kind of ask these questions and see what kind of questions I should be asking myself, right? So all right. Sorry, Muster, I missed your questions. My name is Mustard Sandwich. I'm a Python coder, and that's pretty much it. I see you're a fellow Python coder. Up at lines 1 through 6 are comments. Yeah, these are comments here. If you program with AI, you will be worse off programming for it. Yeah, it's all right. I don't show me code. I'm not in school or anything for this, so I've got to learn somehow and be able to learn concepts somehow. So I use it similar to how I would use something like a form of Stack Overflow or things like that. I don't let it show me code, and I just talk through my ideas. The tool's here to stay, so it's honestly stupid not to use it to help progress us here. But yeah, we learn definitely from our own code. Cool, that was that one. Nice, you guys. Nice, nice, nice. Not too shabby there. Pascal's triangle is the next one up, huh? Give an integer. Given an integer numbers. Trying to first. Given integer numbers, return the first numbers of Pascal's triangle. In Pascal's triangle, each number is the sum of the two numbers directly above it as shown. So the input is number is 5. Outputs this. Oh, it outputs the first numbers. Huh. I've never heard of Pascal's triangle before. So you sum up two numbers and it gets the one below it. Sum of the 2 and the 1 and the 2 gives 3. You just have ones on. So the root cascades all the way on the edges. Okay, so basically what you do is you create a list. You create 5 lists based on the number of rows. You put the root as the ends, as the sentinels, and then inside you generate is where the algorithm comes in. Okay, so that's kind of like a trick. So you create a number, your output will output a number of lists, the same proportional to the number of rows, so 5 lists. The first list will be just the root value given, so if it's 1. Okay, so you always start with 1. And then you expand it by 1 point each time, summing these two values and inserting that into the list. Summing these two values and then these values, the middle two, and then giving you that and then those two values. So you sum even and odds. You don't sum two evens together in indexes. So this is an odd 0, a 0 and a 1. So you sum, giving you that. A 0 and a 1 and a 2, and a 2 and a 3. You sum, you sum, you sum, you sum. So you sum every you loop basically a range of 2 throughout each value. Interesting. On line 15, remove the true if else false. Here you have to do. Hmm. One way you can do this is to set your first item. And running a for loop for between the range of num rows. Then adding the previous index 1 in the old array. How many LeetCode problems have I solved? Let's check. I think we're on like 28. 33. 33, not too shabby. Okay, so we're just given a number of rows. So we're going to do a loop over that range, right? So we're going to generate a list over this range, a list every time. Right, so we would say like for list in range or we would say for row in range of num rows. Right, that would give us 5 total row values. We would create a we'd have an overarching output, right? Which is going to be a list. We would create a row for row in the range number of rows, right? Now we have row 0 here. Well, row 0 is just going to so what is the actual algorithm here that we need to do, right? So we have to say on the first one is 1 value. So do we need to have a variable here, I equals to 0 at first? Well, no, because we could say for 0, this one's going to have 5 values in it. So we can have another loop to say for value in range so in our first loop we're going to have 1 value in there. So row for the range of row, right? So this will say we're going to access every value in this row. So in this first one, the range of rows is 0. So this would be row, we need to say +1 because it's 0 index. We have to have 1 value in there. Or we could say for I in the range of, well, row in this first one is 0. So maybe we actually do want row because we want to access index 0 for I because it only has 1 value. So we say, think. So we add the current number to itself, which makes it here. We add these two together, So we need to skip over. So we add So if we already know that the row is going to start off with the 1 in it, so can we just do this like there? Can we reduce this down by 1 and then start off on 1 through number of rows minus 1? But if we start off 1, so then we'll just go to number of rows, because we'll skip over this first one. Okay, so we're going to need, so we have a result here, which is a list with a singular row inside of it, which happens to be this one. We add the value, we multiply the value inside of here. Well, in Pascal's triangle, I mean, do you automatically start like this though? In terms of like, can you start with these 2 points and then move forward from there? So then we would want to do it here. Right? On the second value, 0, 1. So we'd start on the 3rd index and start building this. Okay. Right? Preconditions for the num rows is that it's required 1, so you could have 1 as a valid input. Oh, okay. So it would have to have just starting off as this guy here, because then you would return. So if num rows is equal to 1, we're going to return results right off the bat. Else, we're going to come into here, we're going to say for row in the range of 1 to number of rows, right? So this is where we're going to start building this row, this row, this row, and this row. So how can we build this row, this second row here? Right, we need to take this value Okay, so no matter what, we're going to create a list. We're going to create a list with two ones in it. So right, that's the common thing, is every list has 2 ones in it on either end. So can we just, I don't really want to hard code in a list with 2 ones in it. Right. So on the first pass, Hey, Oliver, thanks for coming in, dude. Thanks for coming in so much, man. Gas river. Nice, Oliver. Thanks for coming in and joining me here. It's awesome to meet you. That sounds awesome. Made a weather app, website. Sweet, dude. Okay, so let's think about this. So I don't want to create I want to go into the results at the previous row. So we say for value range of row I in the range of row, right? So if we go temp is equal to list, let's create the temp here, empty list. Let's say for I in the range of row. So in this first pass, row will be 1 because we are already in here. So we say we want to access results negative index negative or 1 or so the row here is going to be index of 1 because we're building the first row, not the second row, the index 1 row. So row is 1 at the first, so I will also be 1. So I needs to say row range of row. So if the row is 1, I will say 0 to 1. Perfect. So we have 0 row this one's a little tricky. Hey, Simon. Oh, what? We got a raid on Twitch with a party of 44. Holy cow. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in here. If that's true, I'm not... That's crazy. I've never seen that before. My name is Michael. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I'm 26 years old, and I've been teaching myself how to code for about 8-9 months now. We build projects, read books on the stream. Right now we're reading Fluent Python and DSA in Python. Live on stream and taking notes. We're solving LeetCode problems, and we're also building projects. This is our current project we've got going on so far, the Small Business Manager. I'll show you a quick preview. I've written this entirely in Python from scratch. We have inventory, expenses, transacting in those individual inventory items, and then developing automated income statements for various calendar years based on those transactions, and extracting out those data using SQLite database and a front-end, back-end with all in Python and Tkinter. So thanks so much for coming in, everybody. That's crazy. Please follow along if you're interested in hanging out with me. I stream every single day after my 9-to-5 job as a formulation chemist. So thank you so much for being here. Isn't that, yeah, it's kind of crazy, Mahan. Okay, so let's go back here. Do you do bioinformatics? Not currently. I build actual form chemistry solutions, chemical solutions, like and formulate them, in the lab. And so, but I would be, I'm interested in getting into that field and using this programming knowledge and ability to build projects and tools to maybe encapsulate that in biology and chemistry would be cool. I don't know. Okay, so I'm getting confused on my loops here. So we need to keep everything intact, right? So we're building rows from 1 all the way up to the number of rows. So we already have a row initial 1 in there. So if, um, right? So we'll go like results here. If this equals 0, return that. Else, we're going to results dot append a list with a 1 in it, and then we'll say if num rows is equal to 1, we'll return results at this point, right? Now, else, if it's greater than 1, we need to go into here and start building out a whatever. So we're going to build a row up until the number of rows. So we don't want to build the first row because that already is doing it here. So that we want to build the second row in this loop up until the number of rows. So we'd start on, which is the third index, right? The second index or third row. We would build this, we'd have a temporary list variable to start adding in values into it. We say for I, which are index values for this row of values, in the range of the current row. So if the row is starting off on 2, so I needs to have row plus 1 because we need to have 1 greater value than the current row. So this row here is row 3, right, or index 0, 1, 2, but it has 3 values. So I needs to have not a range of row plus 1, a range of row plus 1, because we want to have 2 values or 3 values at this row of second row. Okay, we're going to insert into here the previous row's value Hey Tim, thanks for coming in on Twitch. Welcome in, man. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for the compliment. Python. Gotcha. If row does not equal num rows. Temp dot. Hey Heel, thanks for coming in. Heelston of 007. Yeah, sorry, the Twitch has a bunch of people in here, so I've been reading the chats, I've been catching caught up on them. Sorry, guys. Um, 22. Okay, so what'd you say, Mahan? Sorry, index your result by the last row number before you query for the numbers. Sorry, it's so hard to interpret all through text through these chats. It's difficult. Sorry, guys. Index your results. Okay, we're going index into results by the last row number before you query for the numbers. What? uh, Index your result by the last row number before. Shoot. Add 0 to end and start of each element of result and add what's needed. Then append and check if you got numbers in your items. What? It's so hard to read these chats. Hey, Rigo, thanks for coming in. Okay, so it's hard to deduce these chats. Okay, so let's think about this. So we're starting on range 2 for row. Row is going to equal 2 on our first pass. So I is going to equal 3. I want to go here, append. I want to generate a 1 list. Append a value that is these two to it, and then generate a 1 on top of it. Generate a 1 list. Go here, append that value. Append that value. And then add a 1. Okay, so hold on, let's back up. Okay, let's think about this on the whiteboard. Okay, so we want to build a new list. Okay, so we want to build a new list, right? We want to go over the range of the previous list and some ranges of 2 until we reach the end, right? So we need to skip, we need to have a skip on our second loop. So we'll keep this, and then we need to build a temporary list, right? And then we need to index into the previous row. Okay, so we need to index into the previous row. And some values of 2. So for row. Yeah, Rigo, I have a Discord link down below in the description where I have a complete roadmap of all my learning so far. I provide you PDF copies of the books that we're reading on stream with breakdowns and links to my GitHub notes. I also provide resources towards the Odin project. I've completed about half of that. All of the CS50X up through week 9 that we've completed so far, and 2025 CS50X, CS50 Python, and then obviously Project Showcase and stuff like that. So the Discord is a great place to be to get access to like a roadmap for everything that I've done so far in my learning. So we're gonna I don't want to append 1 on every pass. So here, temp.append 1. So that'll add 1 onto the temp, onto the row. We then loop for I in the range of what? Row plus 1, because we want to add a value 1 greater than the current row index, because in the 0 row we have 1 value, in the index 1 row we have 2 values. So the values always precedes or is 1 ahead of the row count, right? 4 values in said row. Okay, we're going to access our results at index of so how can we access so we're saying for row in the range of 2. So we're trying to build this one here. We add the 1 onto it. So right now we have a list with just a 1 into it for this one here. We need to then build the 2. So we need to go to the previous row. Results. Okay, so we have to go into results at row minus 1. So we have to go into the previous row at index of, so I in this case is row plus 1. So on this case, I will be 0 on this first pass. But we don't want to do that because we don't want I to be 0 actually, because we are already counting for that 0 append here. So we want I to start on a value of 1 through row plus 1. Right. Or we'll just actually go up to row, right? Because at the end of this loop, we're going to append another 1, right? So we'll do temp.append 1 again. So here is where we're going to do the taking place. So results row minus 1, index of, in this case, will be I to access the no, we do want to have it to be row plus 1 because, or no, of row, and we want to have this start actually at 0 because we do want to access that 0 and that 1 of here. So in the range of the current row is 2 on this first pass. So 0, 1 are going to be, okay, so we're pulling 0 and 1. So these two values here. So I will then, so we're going to say sum is equal to or can we just sum the previous row? No. In that first case we could, but in the previous one, this is 2, this is 4. This would be 6 minus the ones on the outside would give us 4. This would give us 10 minus the 2 on the outside is 8. And this gives 14. I mean, never mind. Okay, so no. So we say yeah, Rigo, I got everything in there for you. Super straightforward in the Discord. That was my goal, is to keep everything kind of aligned for you. So we'll say new val is equal to so I want to sum these two together. right? And then I want to skip over and sum. Interesting. Where should I go from here, you guys? So for I in the range of row, results row minus 1 to get to the previous row, index of I. We're going to sum. We don't want to sum the whole list. We just want to sum a chunk, right? To determine the next value. So we need a third loop then? Not sure what you mean, Mahan. So I want to take this one. I want to take these two values. Not sum them. I want to sum them, but I want to sum them in a strategic way because I'll put that to here as the next value in the list. Then I come here and sum these two and put that there, but then I also sum these two and put that there. So our loop needs to say for here. We need to loop twice, and this one we'll need to loop 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. So we have to loop 1 less value than is currently in the previous list. So this is 2 values we need to loop once. In this one, we need to loop twice. Okay, so in this case, row is 2. So this will loop twice for that. In the case of row is 3, this will loop 3 times for a value for I, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so then we say new value is equal to results of row index I plus results index row minus 1 we could say new value is equal to the sum of results row I through I plus 1, right? So if we create a new value, which is the results of the previous row of I through I plus 1, this is just going to loop twice though. So in the first one, it's going to say 2. It's because row is equal to 2. So it's going to go 0 and 1 for the values of I. So 0 and 1 for the values of I. Right? So 0 and 1 for the values of I. We're going to sum this and this together, and then append the new val. Right, and then we need to, but we're doing a little bit, we're doing it wrong in our loop though, because we're doing one more than we need, because in this case we want to go here and just do one loop across two numbers. On this we have three numbers, we want to do two loops, here and here. We don't want to move to the last digit. On this one we want to do three loops, we don't want to move to the last digit. So that being said, we need to do row, if row is 2, on the second row, or for developing the third row, we need to do one loop. So row minus 1. So row in this case is 2. I will then loop over 0. So row is reduced down to 1 now. In this case, a range of 1. So I will just be 0 in that first pass, which will add 0 and 1 together. This one it'll loop here, add 0 and 1 together. It'll do 0 and it'll be 1 and 2 together of I plus 1, and then appending the value. And then we do this, and then we return results here. So we're going to sum index of I plus results row minus 1 I plus 1. Still get that. So we're going back to the previous row, which is going to be this guy here. We then say, okay, we're on this previous row. We're going to create a new value, which is going to be equal to that results at that previous row So the current row is index of 2. We're building this row. We're going to go back to this row at the first index of 0 and add it to this value here. Let me go ahead and in this loop, go ahead and print oh, we're not. So then we need to do results dot append temp as well here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to print temp at each pass to see what happens. Will still give me the list index error. Yeah, it's I need to put a link in the Twitch. Unfortunately, I don't have it there yet. But if you just search Michael Dems on YouTube, I'm live right now. It'll pop up pretty quickly. I got about 1,600 subs. That's me, and then it's just in the description there. Hey, Coach, how's it going? You can add 0 first and last index. And go over list of 0 plus result I minus 1 plus 0. Index. I'm curious because I want to know, I want to debug it. Let me take this into here. This is 118. Def pt given some target. Oh my gosh, type of 5. So this will give me a list index error. Okay, so it's this guy, row minus 1. Okay, row minus 1 is giving me the error. Results of row minus 1. So in this case, let me go back here, go to here, let's run the debugger here. Okay, we have a number, we have results is just a list with a 1 list in it. Row is 2 currently, okay? We append 1 onto temp. There it goes, okay? We enter into this loop. For I in the range of row minus 1, row is currently 2. So I is currently 0. Here. List index out of range. Row So our row is becoming
it started with something and then, people
temp
pick up
is
on
an empty
it.
list. We append 1 to the empty list. We then loop for I in the range of row minus 1. Row equals 2. So row is 2 at this point in time. So now we're saying run of range of 1. So we're only going to look at I is 0 in this case. Right? So we say row is 2. Okay. We're appending 1 here. Oh. So then here we need to go results dot append another triangle list on here. and then we'll do it. Okay, so let's try this again. So that goes in now. Okay, now that does an evaluation. Results is equal to that. Okay, we append new values to onto temp. Append 1. Append it to results. Here we go. Go in. Temp is blank. 1, 3, 3, 1. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so what I did was now we say, right here we go results dot append 1, 1, right? And then we say I'm just going to copy what I have here. Okay. There we go. Yes. All right, we solved this one. All right, I had to go to the debugger for this one, which was good practice for us. I wrote my initial attempt, and then we just were getting an index error, so I took it to the debugger, and we were able to figure out that I needed to append the additional second row onto there in order to have this indexing work as one behind the current row, because I wasn't accessing row 2 because I was starting off forcing on row 2, right? Which is index to row 3. Cool. Nice. All right, let's look at Garbe wants to just check out his solution here in the Discord. Let's check it out here. Okay, he said, so you have an output, right, of just a -1. We say for row in the range of number of rows -1. Okay. You create a temporary list, which is the starter point. And you say for I in the range of length of the current out index of row. So yeah, it's interesting because it might be more compact, but it's definitely not. It's definitely not more readable in my opinion. Like when you start nesting functions together and indexing together, it really starts to get unreadable. You have to really, I don't know, that's just my opinion. Like in terms of these ones, it might be slower or whatnot, but it just feels much more. For I in the range length, because so you're just dynamically computing the next I value as length of output increases. So as you append stuff to output, your I value will increase. Or your I will increase 1 more. Okay, so that's how you're handling that. And then you append out index of row. Which is index of I plus I plus 1. Okay, so pretty similar in theory. You just use this length function to dynamically check on each pass to help with this part here, basically. Interesting. Okay, so what he did is he just used length. He used the length function to just kind of get rid of all this junk here and then have it just dynamically update for a length depending upon the output, right? Let's see solutions here. So there's results here for whatever. Nope. So for row, so dummy creates a dummy row, adds a 0, adds the last value. Oh, he just creates a dummy row and then appends new values. Interesting. All right, that's it for LeetCode for today. Let's work on the project for about a half hour here. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. I really, really appreciate it. My name is Michael. I'm 26 years old. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I teach myself Python and computer science every single day after my 9 to 5 job, just out of raw passion for wanting to learn computer science and wanting to improve my skills as just a general candidate and in general as a as a programmer. I really, really appreciate you guys being here and following me along. Thanks so much for coming in. All right, Mohammed, look at yours. Okay, so he said, creates empty array for I in the range of number of rows. You append 1 right off the bat. If I is greater than 0, right? Meaning that, okay, so you force past the first index, which will be the 1. If I greater than 0, a at index I dot append 1. If I greater than 0 again, or greater than 1, for j in the range of 1 to I, array at index of I, insert element j, or insert at index j. Yeah, see, I don't know, guys. It when you start doing all this crazy, funky, it just gets so like unreadable, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. When you start having to like track index, it's just So I just said, right, besides create results. If the number is 0, return just a blank array. Append 1. If it's 1, you return that appended 1. You append the second row. And then you do a loop. You create a dummy array. I don't know, I just feel like this is really readable. User friendly, I guess. Okay. Okay, so I did work on the project a little bit earlier today, you guys. So I did put in about an hour of work and debugging on figuring out what was going on with that bug we were facing, and I actually figured out that it was actually never a bug. I just wasn't understanding my own code. So I was able to figure it out here. So let me show you guys what's going on here. So, um, Mike, you literally did the hard thing. I did it in like 18. What do you mean 18? Like, you saying 18 lines? Yeah, it might be 18 line or 18 minutes, but I don't know. Like when you're inserting on another J value, like I just feel like it just becomes a lot more, more things you have to keep track of, more variables. Now, I mean, we were using a row before, so I don't know. It's just interesting because I don't know. I might be biased, but I just feel like mine is a lot more, is just more readable. It just really kind of goes step by step what it should. I don't know. To each their own. Okay, so this is our small business manager class or our project that we've been working on. And so I'll show you guys what's going on is that it's actually working appropriately. And what I had to do to kind of also fix a little bit of a bug was in our transactions tab is I also I fixed this. So and when we're creating an income statement, I'm passing in not only the item year required, but the transaction year itself because you know you need both of those informations to update accordingly, right? So when you create an income statement, it will create income statements for the given years. And if the years are already found within the given income statement database, it'll just update that income statement rather than generating an entire new income statement. So by passing in these two, right, I was just passing in the item year acquired, and what that did was um, it it just wasn't properly updating. I can't, it's hard to explain, but here we go. So I'll show you. Okay, so yeah, let's show you here. We're going to create an item 2020 for 2024 dash 0 4 dash 05. All right, make this test. Size medium, cost is a 10. We're going to add that item to our database. There it is. Okay, so no income statement was generated off that because no income was ever generated, right? No income was ever lost. We just bought an item, right? It's not inventory aren't treated as expenses here, so we aren't treating it as an expense for a negative income. Okay, let's go ahead and do another item here for 2025. Let's add that. So now we have two items here, one for 2024 and one for 2025. If we try to add the same item, we fail because it's a duplicate, right? So now if we go here to try to transact those individual items, let's go here 2025-04-05, item ID number 1, item amount, say it's $25, platform Instagram, transportation shipping, charge 500. Okay, so we're going to commit a transaction for a item purchased in 2024 but sold in 2025, right? So before that was being populated into the 2025 income statement because what we needed to do, that's why I'm passing in that transaction year into this income statement because we need to update an income statement via that item year required for that transaction year, right? So if I transact this in 2025 and commit, boom, there's the item transacted. I go to the income statement, I will have income for 2025. Boom. Right? And I have a blank 2024 because I transacted the item in 2025, not 2024, and so it needs to be reported in 2025. That's where I was getting confused with my own code and my own double entry accounting here is that if I have an item generated in 2024 and I sell it in 2025, it needs to be reported on 2025's income statement, and the cost of that good, although it was in 2024, is not cleared out until it is sold in 2025. So that's why it's being categorized and captured here within this, right? But if I go ahead and do the opposite approach, right? Let's clear out that and clear out this, right? Where I buy and sell an item within the same year, 2025-04-05, description, test, size, medium, cost, 10. If I add that, right, boom, it's there. Now, if I go ahead and transact that item within the same year, right, this was bought in 2025 and sold in 2025-04 4-05, item ID number 1, item amount 25, Instagram shipping charge 500, commit, boom, there it is. And then the income statement now populates that on 2025. So then if I buy, let's say I put this onto 2024 and I buy that item, there it is for 2024, and I sell that item also in 2024 for item number 2 and sell that, I will now populate the income statement for 2024. Boom, there it is. So that works appropriately. Now what happens if I buy an item in 2025, let's say, and this cost, $15 add, and then I sell that item number 3 in 2026, right? Well, this will generate an income statement for 2026. There it is. Right? So then if I generate an expense, let's say, in 2026, right? If I generate an expense for 2026, boom, and go to my income statement, you'll see that that expense is now being captured in the 2026 line and giving us a negative $10 net income, right? Because gross margin minus expenses is net income. Hey, never give up. Thanks so much for coming in and giving me some support. Appreciate you for coming in. You're awesome, dude. Right? So that's why we needed to pass in both of those values. Well, we don't necessarily need to even pass in, I'd say, the item year acquired, because the transaction the item year acquired is only really needing to be known for when you create an income statement and generate the cost of goods sold, right? So in my DB Manager class, on my create income statement function, I get the current income statement years. If the year is in the years given here, then we're going to create an income statement for that year. And then if that year, or we're going to fetch all the information for that year. If the year is in this special years variable here, which is the current income statement years, right? Then we'll go ahead and update, else we'll insert. Okay. So I don't even need to fetch cost of goods sold given the year. Select item ID from transactions where date, like, fetch all. And then I say, I return the cost of goods sold in that year, if there is any, else 0. Right. So then, what's next then? That's the question. What's next? Or am I needing to pass in, the the date the item was, right? Because in the transaction, I'm passing in the item year required as well, which, if I pass in the item year required, I'm getting all the gross sales for that year. No, I just want to do it for that transaction. So let me get rid of this here. Go here, clear out the database. take out this, run app, 2025, let's do 2024 dash 04 dash 05, test, size, medium, cost 10, add, right? And let's transact that within the same year. So that's 2024 item 04 dash 05 for 1, 25, 500, commit. Okay, there it is in 2024. Now let's add in another item here, but commit it in 2025. Right? So now let's commit it. Oh, for item 2, commit. There it is. Now we should have it for, we committed a transaction in 2024 and a transaction in 2025. So we should have an income statement for both those years, which we do. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I think that hey Jay, what's going on? I don't think that there actually is a bug. I think we fixed it here. So now we are appropriately able to transact items that were generated within the same year and transacted on the same year, and also transact items that were generated on a previous year and transact those. And they're appropriately being reported and generating. So right in 2025, we bought an item in 2024 and sold it in 2025. So your income statement. So the only thing that generates income statements is if you sell items or buy expenses, right? So if you sell an item, right, you generate a transaction, and based on that transaction date is when you create is the income statement you populate, right? The only thing we need to worry about for the actual inventory date purchased of the item is when generating the income statement's cost of goods sold, right? So in the cost of goods sold, right, in the cost of goods sold, we get the items sold in that year. So we pass in the year. So get all item IDs for transactions in the current year. So item ID sold in year. We select all the item IDs from transactions where date is like this. Okay, so what we do is we get all of in our transactions tab, for all of if we were saying, okay, we want to know the cost of goods sold for all the 2025 4 items. So in our transactions tab, we'll go to a date where we have 2024 and get the item ID of that item. Right? We then say, if there are none, you return 0. Right? Else, let's go ahead and convert them just to a list. We then query the database for the sum of the cost from inventory where the ID is in this list of IDs. Right? So the total cost of goods sold in that year right? We get all the item IDs from transactions. So if we want to know the cost of goods sold for 2025, we need to get all the item IDs for items sold in 2025, and then go into inventory and get all the prices of those item IDs. So that's what we do, is we get the sum of the cost from inventory where the ID is in this. And then we return that back. Perfect. Hey, James Coffee, thanks for coming in. Thanks so much for the kind words, dude. Everybody's so nice. It's so crazy. Everybody's really nice and gives me such positive feedback. in regards to learning here. So honestly, thank you guys so much for your support. And James, thank you so much for coming in on Twitch. We have a lot. We got a Twitch raid here of 44 viewers today from somebody, which was really really awesome. Thanks so much for coming in. So our Twitch was really got a boost today, which was so cool. So thank you guys truly for being here and for following along. My name is Michael. I'm a biochemist. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry, and I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company. And I've been doing that for a little over 3 years since 2021 when I graduated. I got a job right out of college as a chemist, and I've been teaching myself how to code for about 8, 9 months now. We're currently working on our small business manager project, which is our CS50X final project, our week 10. And then this is currently what we have. We have the ability to add inventory items, search for those inventory items, add expenses, search for those expenses, and then transact inventory items based upon their item IDs, and then convert and generate income statements automatically based upon those transactions. Premiere, you got that project working? The inventory editor. Oh, nice, dude. You'll have to put like a little demo video in the Discord. That's really awesome, dude. Hey, Marty. Welcome in, dude. How's it going? Thanks so much for joining me again. It's awesome to hear from you. What you guys been studying? Let me know what you guys are studying. If you guys have any recommendations for things I should study in my time here, I'm all ears. I really, I really kind of sometimes struggle with where I should go next, being that I'm not in college for this or don't have like a formal study plan to follow or TAs or professors or nothing. So my professor is the almighty orb, ChatGPT. I prompt it for various questions I have and obviously various books. So that's how I've been learning so far, especially is the main source of learning is in books and reading these live on the stream. We finished and read Python Crash Course live on the stream here. We're currently reading Fluent Python. I got Python Machine Learning here, and we're also reading Data Structures and Algorithms in Python. Marty, did you like the movie? It looks kind of cringe on some of the previews. Okay, so right now, guys, that successfully completes the income statement page, right? So there are some features that we could kind of like narrow down. Like we shouldn't allow for transactions to be take place in the future. We shouldn't allow for income statements to be generated for the future, right? So there are some, edge cases that we shouldn't be, limiting, but in terms of like abuse, it's not really going to be, I don't think, going to be super abused because no one's going to really, put in something for the future unless it's by accident. So we can always come back and fix those little edge cases with some functions and some things like that. But I believe that takes care of the income statement page, right? The income statement required a gross sales, a sales transport, an allowances, a fee, a discount, net sales, cost of goods sold, gross margin, expenses, and net income, right? So the gross sales is a database query for all of the items sold or transactions that took place within this given calendar period or year. So if we have one transaction here in 2024 for $25. So in our income statement for 2024, we have a gross sales of $25. We then have a sales transport for 2024 of $5 via the sum of all of the transportation charges for 2024 transactions. Same with 2025, we have one here. So that is being reported here. We have $0 in allowances, $0 in fees, and $0 in discounts. As you can see, there is no fee, there is no discount, and we currently don't have any actual. That's something that we haven't added yet. Is we don't have any ability to actually return items into the inventory or convert them back into inventory from sales status, sold status via an allowance, right? So that's what sales allowances are in accounting, is that those are returns or allowances or damaged goods or things like that. So if the customer returns back an item to us that we have converted into sold status here, we would need to then document that via some sort of transaction, or maybe not transaction, but just some sort of inventory update here, like an edit of some sort. So it would probably have to be a transaction. We would probably have to make the transaction type, right? So I'm thinking that we'll add in a drop down box right here above the all the inputs that says like a type of transaction, and you can make it a an allowance, a for sale, or a sold or a sale, right? So you can transact in items, you can commit transactions for items into for sale status, sold status, or right, or allowance, which means that you returned it back into inventory status from being sold and removed it from your gross sales. Or actually, I don't think you would remove it from your gross sales necessarily. You made the sale, but you just returned the item back into it. So the 2025 would be taken out in the allowance, giving you a 0 or a -5 net income via this a sales transport charge or whatever. So interesting being said. So if we have an allowance, you don't update the gross sales, you just increase the allowance proportional to that gross sale amount for the refund charge, and then that computes from there. Okay. So what we'd have to do is in the transactions piece, we'll need to add in a combo box above the date to specify the transaction type being a return, a for sale listing, or a sold listing, right? And then um, we'd have to also allow for checks. So selling items, you can only sell items that have a status of for sale, right? And you can only return items that have a status of sold. So that's some other edge cases we would have to figure out as well. Okay, so and then that would allow you to so maybe I'd have to have a separate box for returns, lists, and for sales. Oh, cool. Let's check it out. Let's check out this demo. Oh, cool. Got inventory items. It's kind of hard to see. Let's download it. Oh, it's not compatible. Oh, it just sorts for you? So edit. How did you how did you do these windows? What widgeting software did you use? Did you use Tkinter? Wow, this is pretty elaborate. You got like a lot of stuff here. Holy cow. Huh. WX Python. No, it looks good. If you could make an HD one, that'd be great. That looks awesome, dude. Yeah, I've been. This is Tkinter that I used here. It's pretty easy so far, but I haven't figured out how to do that whole new window pop up happening that you have there. Because that would be nice to have for like, right? I could just make a button for committing a transaction, and then I could have this entire square pop up as a new window to, right? So I wouldn't have to have it hard coded on here. It would just pop up as a new window for transactions, and then the entire transaction would be the matrix, similar to the income statement. So I could have it just buttons on the side here for add, convert, or whatnot for transactions, rather than having it be like this. Okay, so based off that, so our next hmm, our next so right, we can work on the balance sheet next, but we need to kind of tone up some things. The transactions, we need to have proper transactions taking place with the drop down. Yeah, this is to Kinter. Thanks so much everyone for being here. My name is Michael. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company. I've been teaching myself how to code for about 9 months now. It's been a lot of fun. Um, Appreciate you guys being here. Hey Ryan, what's going on? Welcome in. If you guys are here watching the stream, leave a thumbs up or a like on the stream. It really, really helps. I'm not sure if you can like streams on Twitch or whatnot, but thank you guys so much for being here. We got about 13 or so people on Twitch, which is really awesome. I have never really had a lot of people come in on Twitch before, which is crazy. Okay, so tomorrow we'll work on the balance sheet, but for now, let's try to add in that combo box onto the transactions for committing a transaction type, right? So so we'll go here to our transactions tab. We'll come up here to um, our transactions frame, our commit transaction here. We're going to add in right here. So we're going to say self dot transaction type entry is equal to ttk dot combo box, and then we'll put this onto the self dot transactions frame with the text equal to and then we'll need a self dot transactions type label, right? Is equal to a ttk dot label onto the self dot transactions frame with the text equal to quote transaction type. And then we'll say we load the combo box. So the combo box okay, so we'll need here, we'll go transaction types is equal to a list where we'll have for sale, sold, or return. Okay. Inside this combo box, we're going to put the values equal to the transaction types. And then we'll set the width equal to 15. Okay, so now we need to grid these. So self dot transaction type entry dot grid. We'll need to put this on row equal to, so this is going to have to be row 2, column 0. Column 1, and then the label will get self dot transactions type label dot grid on row 2, column 0. So then what we'll need to do here is increase these up 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, this goes 10, this goes 10, this goes 11. We could loop and do this, but it's whatever. This goes 12, this goes 13, this goes 14. Okay, so now we have 14 rows total. So we have to go here to the transactions frame. So I'll go here, 15. Okay, so now if we run appy, right, our transactions now has a trans type here. Right. Right. I finally made a spinning cube on HTML and CSS. Nice, dude. Is the self parameter just for to call I'm new to object oriented? Yeah, so think of it like this. So the self that's being attached to um, all these variables is because it's being associated with this transactions tab itself. And so I what I did was, as by doing that, is I can access these variables anywhere within these other functions. So when I call, command functions on events, what I can do is I can get the gets of these entries with the self, right? So I can pass in the tab itself and get access to that entry and whatever was put into it and save that in a variable in these command functions, like for events and stuff. It's actually much easier than WX. All right, check it out. So you just go on to root via top level widget. Then you add a label to second window, a close button, secondary window dot destroy. Oh, okay, so you can just dot destroy the window on a close button. And then in your main, you have an open Interesting. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead and shorten that up from 15 to, let's say, where was it? Matrix commit transaction here. Let's shorten that up from 15 to, let's say, 10 because it was small lettering. There we go. So trans type, we need to wrap that. Right, so trans type here, we got word wrap length. We'll say is 25. So if I go here, run. Okay, way too short. Let's go here, wrap length of 100. Too much, too big. Let's go 75. It's not wrapping still, not enough. Let's go 50. There we go. So now it's wrapping appropriately. So then I'll actually extend that back out to 15 to be consistent with everything else. And now it looks like that. So now you have a trans type that you have to put in here: for sale, sold, return. Okay, so then we'll come down in here into the add transaction to transactions. So we'll say, we'll get all of these. We'll say this, or we'll also go here, trans type is equal to self dot trans transaction type entry dot get, right? We then say if trans type is equal to quote sold, right? Then we're going to go ahead and do this. Right? So we'll say this, we'll say match trans type, and we'll say case quote sold is going to be all of these. It's all of this. Right? So that's for the case of sold. So for the case of quote for sale, right, we're going to do something. And then for the case of return, we have something as well. Another thing that's really good, instead of self is for class variables, so you can access variables within the class. Yeah, because it becomes an object, then it won't interfere with the same name as other classes. Yes, exactly. Another thing that's really good, instead of having pop-up window, just make it a drop-down right-click menu. Yeah, that's what, yeah, okay. Oh, interesting. Could you make the entire, could I wrap that entire thing into a class? And then when you drop down, you display the class. So for sold, you're going to do all those. For a case of for sale, you're going to right? So here we're going to commit a transaction to convert an item from inventory into a inventory status to for sale status. Right? So we'll go like this. We'll say right, so to convert an item to for sale. So if date equals to this, or so if any of them are blank, then yeah. If date equals to this, if date equals to this, or item ID equals to this, or item amount equals to this, or so you list it for sale. So if any of them equals to blank. So then sale platform does not, we don't want it to be, if it's not equal to blank, right? We want to fail this, or transportation method not equal to a blank string, or transportation charge not equal to a blank string, or fee not equal to a blank string, or discount not equal to a blank string. Right? If that, so if that's the case, so if any of those fail, right? We want to take this here. Put that there. We want to update the label of the commit transaction as failed. Blank entry. Invalid transaction. Invalid for sale transaction. Okay. and return false. Okay, else if we do get it. Hey, gaming with Sarov, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you for joining me here. This is what we're building right now. This is the Small Business Manager in Python. It is a pretty cool program so far. Oh, hold on. Built this entirely in Python so far. So you got inventory, expenses, transactions for transacting inventory items into various states, and then automatically generating income statements and balance sheets accordingly for double entry accounting. Right, so you have you transact item ID number one, which is this guy here. It was bought in 2024 and sold in 2024. So we have an income statement on 2024 for all those informations. So pretty cool so far. Entirely in Python from scratch here. Little by little every day. um, so in the case where you are successfully able to make a transaction for sale, right, we go ahead and we're going to get a transaction date. We're going to get an item ID and an item sale amount. So all of these same things, right? So we'll try all that. If we get all three of those informations that we're looking for, the date, item ID, or amount, right? Then we are able to can make a transaction here for sale. So then we will say hmm. So we get the cost, we get the ID, and we get the date, okay, for this for sale item. We then say so what I actually need to do though is I'll have to go into here and I'll need to add in a type here for transactions. Hmm. Well, do I want... So if I convert an item to sold to... If I transact an item as a return, give a date, an item ID, an amount of the return, a platform for the return, so I need if I do a return, Hmm. So I'm trying to think of how I should do this. Like, should I even worry about this? I do need to have a return, right? So where should I even worry about for sale though? Probably not. It doesn't really matter. Return though. If I have return. So if I make a return, I needed to specify the platform it was returned on, the shipping charge that took place, and the transaction total for that return. Okay, so let's just have transactions just be available for returns and sells. Right, so let's just say the transaction type is a sale or a return. Or a return. Right. Yeah, Premiere, that's exactly what I'm doing. So in my app.py, you'll see here that I'm passing in these income statement tabs into the inventory tab, or I'm passing in the into the trans into the transactions tab. I'm passing in the inventory tab and the income statement tab because I'm utilizing all the functionality from those tabs within this transactions tab, right? In certain ways. Jeez, I don't know why I just got like allergy hit right there. So let's just offer for sales and returns. And then let's just say if it's for a case of a sale or case for a return. Right? So we're not going to do this. So in the case though, for anything else, we're going to say we're going to take this guy here. In the case for anything else, put that there, bring this back. Right? And say status failed, invalid transaction type. And return false. So in the case for a valid return, you need a date, an item ID, a platform, right? So if all of these, it's basically the same thing as sale for all of these. You want to check for a duplicate transaction. Right, that just looks for the item ID though that was transacted. So that'll get all the information per this item ID. So we'll need to change that because you can sell this. You can't sell the same item ID twice, but you can return the same item ID twice. Or you can return. You can sell and then return and then sell again. But you can also make, depending on how much data you're messing with, you try to make a smaller object to pass back and forth between the main object. Yeah. Yeah, Mohan, we can do a chat tonight. I'm going to watch a show with my girlfriend for a little bit after the stream here, and then we can chat later. We're going to watch, we've been watching Severance. Have you guys been watching Severance lately? It's a really a great show so far. Okay, so we'll need to change this duplicate transaction functionality. Right? So if you have a case for a return, right? We're going to basically do all the same things for the sale. Right, check duplicate, refresh, success, transaction committed, base, convert, return true. Okay, so then we can put the case statement inside here. So here on the add transaction to transaction, we add it. Right, we would want to refresh the transaction matrix to show it. Say success, transaction committed. Okay, so here's where we would update. So we would go in the case of quote sale, we would go match trans type here, right? We would say case quote sale here, do this. Case quote return, do the same thing, but say success return transaction committed, and then sale transaction committed, and convert to database item sold. This goes inside of here for sale, and then this one would be self.database.convert item status return inventory item ID. So we need to write this function, create this function. Okay. We would load all of the inventory matrix, right, via this item ID change, right? We create the income statement based on that transaction year that took place. And then self.income, we would load all the income statements into the matrix and return true. So in the case of a blank, we take this here. Right, because we're going to reuse all of this other code. So in the case of blank, we're going to do this. Return false. And then we're going to, right there, okay. So then we can remove this, all of this, in there. Okay, so we're going to get, and we're going to get all the information from here if we'll take all of this now back, okay, so if the date is blank, if any of these things are blank, then if any of these informations are blank, then we say failed blank entry, return false. So I'll go here and say or trans type, right? Blank entry false. Check the date for validity within the aux function. We check the date, we check the item ID. We don't utilize this, we don't need it. We're not using this item date either. We check the ID, we check the amount, we check the sale platform, we check the transportation method, we check the charge, we check the fee, we check the discount, and we check for a duplicate item. So you can't, we're going to need to update this, so check for duplicate item via transaction type equals trans type. Item ID will go date equals date. So you have to verify a valid transaction via this information here. Right, so we'll need to check, we'll need to verify this then. Rather than just for the date, you check for trans type and item ID. So then in the database, right, and here we have check duplicate item or check duplicate transaction. We have check duplicate transaction here, where we select all from track, where item ID equals to this, and so we'll say where transaction type, where type equals to this, date equals to this, and item ID equals to this. Okay, then we're going to pass in type, date, and item ID. Item ID. Okay. Well, yeah, so that's a good point, Mod Hair. He says, why not make the item ID unique in the transactions table? So that's what that's what I was originally doing, right? Making it that was our barrier. But now, right, I'm adding in this transaction type for being able to return items back into the inventory, right, and handle that via the income statement allowances section, right? You'll be able to report returns under the allowances for that income statement year. So what we'll do is in transactions, I'll allow for a return here, and then if I make it so that you can't populate transactions with unique item IDs, then it'll screw that, because I need to be able to have duplicate item IDs to allow for a return of item number one. So let's say I sold it and then I returned it, then item ID number one would need to be listed twice here. Yeah, exactly. You got it. Emo Girl Lover. Funny name. Do you have tests? No, I don't. Currently, I'm pretty bad at writing tests. I mainly just, my testing is user trial and error. I just perform every edge case I can think of over and over again, and try to input items a gazillion times, and then we'll fix errors as we get them. That's my. Thanks for coming in, though. I appreciate you for saying hello. For those that are new, my name is Michael. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry. I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company. I've been teaching myself how to code for about 9-10 months now, coming up on 1 year, so we're almost there. We're currently working on our CS50X final project. This is the small business manager completely built with Python and Tkinter, all on my own here. As well as we read books on the stream to warm up. We do LeetCode problems. I have a Discord with all of my notes for these books. Tons of resources, community resources people have suggested, all these books, PDFs, and notes access, weekly updates for my projects and courses that I'm in. So feel free to join the Discord linked in the description of the YouTube stream right now. It's just Michael Dems on YouTube. I need to put it in the Twitch description. I don't have it there. I'm sorry, guys. You can make that a list and just simply put any equals. Yeah, Premiere, how do you do that? I was wondering, I'm sure that I was curious to see if there was a way to make it so that I could do all these checks without having to say or, right? How do you do it? Right, on here. Sorry, hold on. Is that you can make it work with any statement. What I mean is you can use else if, while, else if, or case. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, lambda functions too. Or statements and stuff you can put in a list and make it a lambda functions to do the same thing. You can put it in a list and make a lambda. You know what was nice? The item IDs had an algo to get assigned. Yeah. Yeah, so we could definitely like hash these item IDs to be more descriptive of the specific item, right? You know, that's definitely a way to do it. Like how some people have more descriptive item IDs for like a vast database of inventory. So, but in this certain circumstance, it's fairly simple. I'm just doing clothing items for this business that I was freelanced hired to write for. So I'm kind of just, this is for their business cases where they're just selling clothing items. So yeah. I usually just return on bad stuff. What do you mean, my friend? Hello, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you for leaving me a message. Simply put them in a list and use any or all. Oh, if any equal. Do I put the list inside any? Oh, you're talking about for tests. He means if any oh, got you. So you put them inside the list. Okay, so you say, you'd go like, entries is equal to trans type Can I wrap this all in a list and use walrus operators? I never know when I can use walrus operators and when I can't. Can I go like this and then do here and then go like that? Hey, how's it going? I'm almost done. I'm gonna be done here in a second. We'll watch some Severance, yeah? Is that how you do? You use walrus operators to assign at the same time? Oop. D equals sign, bruh. Bruh. Are you making fun of me?
Bruh.
Bruh. Can we use walrus operators here? Oh, we can. Yes. Okay. And then we can say if any entries equal to a blank string. Ooh. Oh, that's so much more clean. Thank you guys for that. Stop. That looks great. Oh, no need for equals to blank string, it's implied. Well, like, it's not none, so I can't say if any entries. Like, a blank string is not a none value, though, right? So I have to specify, because the get on these tkinter entry events returns blank strings for blanks. So a blank string, though, is not a none value, is it? So I get what you're saying. So if I do this, this would infer that if it's none, right? Yeah, so I would need to specify it's still a blank string, though. Okay, how does that look? Okay, so then we get, if any of these entries are equal to a blank, we return false. We check the date, we check the item ID, we check the cost. Interesting. Okay, so then we're checking the cost, checking the fee, checking the discount. Okay. then we're writing this. So if you get a duplicate, right? So we need to update our duplicates to allow for not before we were only making the duplicates via item IDs, and that's not the case because now we're allowing for returns of those item IDs. So the duplicate transaction alarm will flag if you have a duplicate for a transaction type, a date, and that item ID. So if you try to return the same item ID on the same date, um, right, then you'll hit the transaction duplicate, right? So then if we go here to the duplicate transaction, we select all from transactions where type equals to and date equals to and item ID is equal to, right? Let me see. Do you use the ands here? Rename the variable for whatever. Okay, so yeah, you do use the ands here. And then we fetch all if duplicate transaction return, else return none. So if you get a duplicate transaction back, you populate it, else you return false. Um, and the populate duplicate via matrix, that has the status change in it. Yeah, here, duplicate failed. So the thing is though, I'm gonna have to increase these. So this is gonna have to go to 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10 here because I'm gonna have to add into my transactions table here. Right, I'm gonna have to add into my transactions table here an additional indicator of a type, and this will be a text, right? So now if we, so we'll have to go here and go actually go like this, db dot execute quote how to delete a table SQLite 3 completely. Drop table. Okay, drop table transactions. Right, we'll commit that. Okay, now we go here, it should be gone. Yep. Now if we go back into our here, let's comment this. Let's bring back, open our transactions table now. And then let's execute this. Here we go. So now we have a transactions table with a type here as well as a date for a transaction type. So now if I run appy, okay, now this is getting pushed out. So we need to add in the transactions tab in the matrix formulation for developing these headers, right? We have the matrix here. And we're gonna put type here, ID, quote, type, right there. Like so. So now if we run appy, transactions now has a type here along, right, okay, for the type of transaction. Yeah, we have some checks in for, right, to not allow for SQL injections and stuff. Okay, so you know, and if someone hacks this, like it really only impacts them, right? It's just on a local level, right, on the user's own drive via SQLite. So if they hack it, really, there is no like API or like user databases or something like that. So
and if they do decide to inject SQL like injections on here, then it only will just break their own program. And so that's kind of like and someone that's putting in inventory titles isn't going to purposely put in SQL injections or something. So I don't know. It's yeah. Okay, so now we have a type of transaction. So then if we have okay, in our transactions tab, now what? Where am I at? I'm lost. Okay, hold on. So we're on here, add transactions to transaction. We add this here, so let's add it to it. Let's go, this is going to be uh, type is equal to um, trans type. So that'll populate the transactions. Refresh. We'll add it. In the case of a return, we need to convert the status back into inventory and say that it was successful. And then what needs to happen from there? Hey, Active, thanks for coming in on Twitch. Lots of people, new people on Twitch today, which is really awesome. It's just so cool. Thank you so much, guys, for being here and hanging out with me. No, Kalidas, thank you so much for your inputs. I appreciate you. Yeah, my girlfriend's waiting. Yeah. Um. So. Okay. So if I make the I add the transaction to the database here, right? So add transactions to transactions. Right. This needs to give um, a type, right? A type with another value. Type. Okay. Commit, return true. Got you. So that'll add it to transactions. So now let's go here. Boom. Let's do. We don't have any. We have items here, so let's transact sale 2025-04-05 item ID number 1 sit amount 25 Instagram shipping 500 commit. Got an unexpected keyword argument trans type for duplicate transaction. So check duplicate transaction has a transaction type. So in transaction, we call check duplicate transaction type equals trans type. Now if we run here, transact this sale 2025 0403 or yeah, whatever 125 Instagram shipping 500 commit. Invalid little for int base 10 quote shipping. Okay, so it's trying to convert quote shipping Why is it trying to convert quote shipping? This is on load all transactions into matrix. Oh, okay, so this will go 4, 7, 8, 9, because I added in that extra, not new column, 10. So now if I run, okay, transactions, there's the transaction, sale, 2025, and the income statement populated for that transaction. Okay, so now if I transact, let's say sale 2024 0405 to item ID amount 25, Instagram, shipping 500, commit. Okay, boom. So now we sold item number 2 within the same year of 2024. So 2024's income statement populated with that. We sold item number 1 in 2025, so the 2025 income statement populated with that, and then we're getting transaction sale types appropriately. So if I try to commit this, duplicate transaction, there it is. Right, but if I change to return and try to return this item, right, on the same day, commit, I'm able to return it. Right, in 2024. So I'm able to return it. So now my income statement, if I relaunch this, does anything happen to the income statement? Yes, 2024 went up now to 50 because it's uploading the addition into the income statement as that. But if the type is return, okay, so in the transactions, if the type is sale, we create an income statement for that year. Right, so we'll go here. So on the type of a sale, we create an income statement or update the income statement for that current year. And we load and load. We then say, have you looked into ORM solutions? No, I've never heard of that before. Let's check here. So you don't think I set the any correctly. Let's look here. It looks like you're trying to check if any entries returns true, if any of the elements in the list evaluate to true. This means the current condition checking if any entries in the condition is not empty, which is the opposite of what you want. You want to check if any entries is empty, so you need to use all, or you're supposed to check each field. If any entry for entry in entries. Okay. So if any entries if any entry equals to blank for entry in entries. Okay, if any. Like so. Failed blank entry. So now if you go here, exit, go on the commit transaction. What? Oh. Failed blank entry. Perfect. Failed blank entry. So we're still getting failed on blank entries. Perfect. So on returns, see right now I have a sale in 2024 and 2025 for $25. I made a return of this amount. So I want to get the transaction total of this return and stick it on the allowances. So on a return, I might need to talk to so I'm getting a lot of this information from my old man who is a retired CPA. So he's been helping me out with the double entry accounting formulation and figuring out like how to kind of organize this. So I'm gonna have a meeting with him and talk to him about, okay, if I make an allowance or I make a return back into that calendar year for the income statement, do I need to populate and capture fees and stuff and transportation of that return, or just the overarching return value of the sticker price? Or do I need to have it be a transaction total and stick this 30 for this entire return line item as this allowance amount? That's my next question I need to ask him. So anyways, I think I'm going to wrap it up here for tonight, you guys. This was a lot of fun. We got a lot done today. We completed 2 LeetCode problems, number 111 and 118, I believe is what they were. And then we read a little bit out of Fluent Python here in chapter 3, learning about key hashes and sets and stuff, map values, mapping, and things like that. Taking notes on those. You can get access to those notes in my Discord um, on my chat can't help. You want to see the inventory tab? This is my inventory tab. Check the Discord. I don't think that you did any correctly. You want any? Well, yeah, here we go. Yeah, we had to do this right here. If all, oh, so all is giving like and, any is giving the ors. Okay. So if all of them equal to this, then you return true. Okay, cool. So that's what I'll talk to him about next, is that how to handle this return. So on a return, we don't want to call normally just to populate the income statement with the return as if we were transacting an item on a sale. We need to handle that differently, right? So on here, on our transactions, we're calling, right, we're getting all the information here. We're adding that to the database, right? All that information to the database for transactions. We're then saying if the case is a sale, let's go ahead and convert the item status to a sold for that item that was sold. Let's create an income statement for that transaction year via the sale. And then let's commit the message, right? And then in the case of a return, we're going to convert the item status to inventory. We need to create this function, and then we need to commit the transaction, and then we need to update the allowances specifically for that transaction year, right? So we'll need to put here create function to update the income statement for the given transaction year for a returned item into the allowance for said income statement. So create a function to update the income statement for the given transaction year for a returned item into the allowances for said income statement. Right, so on a return, we need to come into we don't want to, right, this is the return transaction for item number 2, which put it back into, we need to have item number 2 now be put back into inventory status, and then have our income statement show that for 2025 or 2024, right, rather than increasing the gross sales by 50 and committing a sale on this, we need to have the allowances be increased by either 25 or 30, depending on what my dad says about that, and then we'll compute that from there, right? Cool. All right, this was good work on our CS50X final project. I'm hoping to complete this project in about a week's time is what I think I can do. We started the CS50 course, or CS50X at the beginning of the year 2025, so we've been working on it for 4 months now, so it's about time that we finish this course up and get it out of the way. I want to dive into some more math-related courses after this. Like we've talked about on the channel, I want to dive into some pre-calculus review, get back into Calculus 1 review like I did in college. I already took up to Calculus 1, but I definitely need a refresher. Dive into linear algebra, learn about vectors and more matrix information, really get into the more mathematical aspects of programming and being able to refine that so we can become a better data analyst and get into bioinformatics and things like that. So I know that this project doesn't really pertain a lot to my science background, but it is just a really good project that has a lot of real world application for my girlfriend's small business transacting and selling vintage clothing. So it'll be able to have like a one-stop shop for her to be able to completely manage her entire business format within software, which is a really cool real world implementation I've been able to create, even in a more of a smaller scale kind of sense, but still a larger project than anything we've made so far. But I really appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Michael. I'm 26 years old. I have a degree in human biology and a minor in chemistry, and I work as a formulation chemist for a biotech company here in the Bay Area. And I have been doing that ever since I graduated college in 2021, and I've been teaching myself how to code for about 10 months completely independently in my room after work, my 9-to-5 job, every day around 7 p.m. PST, and then kind of at different times on the weekends. I have a Discord link down below on the YouTube description here for access to books, notes, projects, weekly updates of courses, and everything. I've given complete transparency for my learning journey so far. And I really appreciate you guys for joining me day in and day out. Leave a like on the stream if you enjoy your time here and enjoy, the efforts that we're making to progress forward. I really, really appreciate you guys being here. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll continue on with our learning, LeetCode, and project building. And I'll see you guys then.